Okonkwo was a poor fisherman living in the small coastal village of Omago. Every morning before the first light of the day, he would push his small wood boat into the sea, hoping to catch enough fish to sell at the market. But for weeks, his net came back empty, or with just a few small fish that barely earned him any money. One night, as Okonkwo was meddling his fish net, a powerful storm began to brew. The villagers warned him not to go out to sea, saying it was too dangerous. But Okonkwo was desperate. He thought maybe the storm would stir the fish closer to the surface. If I stay here, my family might go hungry tomorrow. So, despite the thunder rumbling in the distance and the waves crashing against the shore, Okonkwo pushed his boat into the angry waters. The sea tossed his boat like a toy, and the wind howled as if warning him to turn back. But Okonkwo held tightly to his oars and pressed on. His eyes was scanning the water for any sign of fish. But as he was about to give up, he felt a heavy tug on his net. His heart raced. Finally, a big catch. He thought with all his strength. He pulled the net out of the water, but what he found left him speechless. Tangled in his net was not a fish, but an old woman. Her silver hair shone like moonlight, and her wrinkled face looked wise and kind. Her eyes glowed faintly, and she seemed more like a spirit than a human. "Thank you for saving me, young man," the old woman said, her voice soft but full of power. I have been cursed to wander this water for eternity. Your act of kindness has broken part of the curse. Because of this, I will reward you." Okonkwo stared at her, his mouth open in surprise. "Who are you?" he asked. "And what kind of reward?" "I am not an ordinary woman," she replied with a faint smile. "I was once a powerful queen of the sea, but my greed and pride brought this curse upon me. Now, I am offering you a chance to change your life, but first, you must do something for me." Okonkwo frowned. "What do you want me to do?" "Take me to the deepest part of the sea tomorrow," the old woman said. "There I will give you 3 gifts, but listen, you must never tell anyone how you got them. If you do, everything you gain will be lost." Okonkwo thought for a moment. The villagers were known for their gossip. The secrets were hard to keep. But the thought of a reward was too tempting to resist. "I will do as you ask," he said finally. The old woman nodded and climbed out of the net, disappearing into the stormy night. The next morning, the storm had passed, and the sea was calm. The sky was painted with soft orange and pinks as the sun rose. Okonkwo pushed his boat into the water and waited soon. The old woman appeared, her silver hair glistening like a sea itself. They rowed silently to the deepest part of the sea. The water was so calm that it looked like glass, and the air was strangling still. When they arrived, the old woman pointed at the water. "Drop your net here," she said. Okonkwo obeyed. When he pulled the net back up, it contained 3 unusual items: a golden fish that sparkled like the sun, a glowing pearl of size of his fist, a small ancient-looking jar sealed with wax. "These are your gifts," the old woman said. "The golden fish will bring you wealth, the pearls will give you wisdom, and the jar contains your greatest test." Open it only when you are ready to face your deepest fear. Before Okonkwo could ask any question, the old woman smiled, turned into a mist, and vanished into thin air. When Okonkwo returned to the village, his life began to change. Every time he sold a fish, his earning doubled. His nets, which had once been empty, were now overflowing with fish. Within weeks, he was able to buy a bigger boat and hire other fishermen to work for him. With the pearl's wisdom, Okonkwo made smart decisions. He invested in building better fishing equipment and helped the other fishermen in the village. Soon, he became the wealthiest man in Omago. But his success did not go unnoticed. Curious villagers began to whisper, how did Okonkwo become so rich so quickly? They wondered. Some said he had found buried treasure. Others claimed he had made a deal with the spirit. One day, Okonkwo's jealous cousin, Eze, started spreading a rumor. Okonkwo is using witchcraft. Eze told villagers. That's how he became so rich. The villagers grew suspicious, and some even stopped speaking to Okonkwo, feeling the weight of their judgment. Okonkwo remembered the jar. Perhaps it has held the answer to the problem, he thought. That night, under the light of the full moon, Okonkwo opened the jar. A thick dark mix poured out. Swirling around him, a deep voice echoed, to face your greatest fear, you must confront your heart. Suddenly, Okonkwo was no longer in his room. He found himself standing on a beach, watching his younger self, crying as his father drowned in the sea. He remembered the moment clearly. He had been too afraid to dive into the water to save him. Tears filled Okonkwo's eyes. I was just a boy, he whispered. I was too scared. The mist spoke again. Forgiveness is your key. Forgive yourself and you will find peace. When Okonkwo woke up, he felt lighter, as though a great burden has been lifted. The next morning, he called a meeting in the village square. He told the villagers about his father's death and how it had driven him to work hard and conquer his fears. The villagers were moved by his honesty, even as they apologized for his jealousy and the false rumor. Years passed, and Okonkwo used the wealth to build schools, hospitals, and better homes for the villagers. One night, the old woman appeared to him in a dream. You have passed the test, she said. Your wealth was not about the gift, but about how you use them. Now you are free to live a life of purpose. Okonkwo's kindness began to change the entire village of Omago. The fishermen who once competed against each other now worked together, sharing their catches and helping one another during hard times. The school Okonkwo built gave children an opportunity to learn and dream of brighter future. He started a marketplace where villagers could sell their goods and crafts. People who had once struggled to make a living now prospered. Omago, once known as a poor and forgotten village, became a place of unity and abundance. Visitors from far and wide came to trade and hear the story of the fisherman who had turned his fortune around. One evening as the sun dipped below the horizon and the sea sparkled in the shadows of gold, Okonkwo sat by the shore reflecting on his journey. A gentle breeze carried the scent of salt and flour. Suddenly a familiar voice spoke. "Have you done well?" Okonkwo turned. The old woman said, "You've done well." He turned to see the old woman standing by the water. She looked the same as the night he had first met her. "I do not think I will see you again," Okonkwo said, bowing his head in respect. The old woman smiled. "I came to tell you that my curse is fully broken. Your kindness and courage have freed me. The gifts I gave you were not just treasures, but lessons. You have proven that true wealth is not what we take for the world, but what we give back." Okonkwo had swelled with gratitude. "But why me? Why did you choose to help me?" The old woman looked at him and says, "Because you were willing to risk everything for a chance at a better life. Your determination and heart made you worthy, and now you have shown your people what is possible when one person dares to dream and act selflessly." The old woman walked into the wave, her figure glowing brighter with each step. As the water rose around her, she turned to Okonkwo. "One last time, your story will live on, Okonkwo. Teach your children and their children to be brave, wise, and kind. Farewell." With that, she vanished in the sea, leaving behind a calm ocean. Okonkwo returned to the village with a renewed sense of purpose. He spent his days teaching others what he had learned: to face their fears, forgiveness, and use their gifts to uplift others. As the years went by, Okonkwo grew old, but his legacy continued to strive. The children of Omago grew up hearing his story, and they carried his lesson with them. The people of Omago erected a statue of him by the shore, holding a fishing net and a glowing pearl. At the base of the statue, they inscribed the words, "Okonkwo the fisherman who taught us to believe." Okonkwo's name became a legacy not just in Omago, but in all villages beyond the coast. His story was a reminder that even in the darkest storm, kindness, courage, and wisdom could light the way to a brighter future.